Hey YouTube, Dan Ottawa here, the best 3rd slash 4th tier Pokemon Go battler in the world, coming at you with my co-host for what seems like it's going to be the whole week as I try and find time to film between the sick 2.5-year-old that my wife is at the doctor's with and him not sleeping when I put him down. So here we are. And we are talking about baiting today. And basically, if you've seen my past videos, this one may be a little trickier to update because I don't have these edited, but we'll make it work. But if you see my videos in the past, I always say never bait. Like, just go for the nuke. Because my philosophy is if you just go for the nuke, you're either going to grab a shield or you're going to do a ton of damage, right? So that's sort of my philosophy. But that's not always the case, and it really is matchup dependent. So I'm going to show you a couple battles here where I do bait and the reason why, and then I'm going to show you a couple battles where I call the baits and the reason why. So let's start with this first matchup here. We are going to see my Ninetales into their Snorlax. So immediately, what I'm going to pause right here and say is, and this one in the Lapras's neck, it's the same sort of concept. You have two tanky Pokemon, but overheat from a Shadow Ninetales probably will one-shot. And worst case scenario, if they call my bait, I can still outpace just with the Weather Ball spam to take the matchup in the 2v1 shield. So I'll probably have to shield 2 in the Lapras case if they called it correctly. But if not, you get a bait and then you can land the overheat. So that's exactly kind of what happens here. So in the first matchup here, what we're going to see is we're going to see one other thing play out here. So as you're going to see, I'm going to get to the overheat and they haven't thrown yet, and they still haven't thrown, and I'm at the overheat. So lesson number one sort of part is your opponent is much likelier to shield if they are loaded with energy. It's common sense, right? If they're loaded with energy and they have the shields, they're not going to let it go in the anticipation that they just get blasted here with the overheat. So with this bait, it was kind of straightforward. Like my mindset was the bait because of what I just said was I can take it in the 2 shield if I need to. The Weather Balls are spammy. But because they have a ton of energy, I know that this bait is more likely to hit. So throw it here. So I'm going to throw it here, and they are going to shield. And I let the first one go. And for one, I let it go. You can shield back. It doesn't matter because I knew I could survive and get to the overheat, which will allow me to either take switch here. So what you're going to see is we do end up seeing Piantine, which I was close to. I guess it was a delayed CMP because I think I would have won CMP. I don't know. I actually don't know who wins it. So they get to the move. So I'm going to have to shield. And I'm going to overheat here for 2 reasons. One, at this point, it's win and take switch, or they shield and I'm up a shield, but I lose switch. So either of those are good scenarios. But the second reason is, and they let this go, is because they are a Snorlax, right? It's a super heavy tanky Pokemon. They are not going to use 2 shields on a Snorlax. And what we basically see is the same thing here in this Lapras matchup. So Lapras matchup is a little trickier because you need to shield up the Surfs because the Surfs do one-shot you here because you are a Shadow. So I always try and sneak in an extra Fire Spin now because I know that they get to it around the same time. So I snuck in the extra Fire Spin, which is going to allow me to get to the overheat, bait, and then get to the overheat again before they get to the Surf. So I'm going to shield that up because it can take me out. At this point, if they know their counts, they're thinking that they can probably get to another Surf and take me out before I maybe get to this, even if it is a bait. But because I snuck it in there, I can bait. I'm at the overheat. They have to shield that this is going to one-shot. And I get to the overheat here and blast them. And again, they are a Lapras. They are not going to 2-shield a Lapras, right? So that's kind of like that's a pretty easy scenario of when to bait, when to not bait against tankier Pokemon. Like, you can bait once if you know you can win the matchup in a different shield scenario. And that one's an easy one because I could win in the shield scenario. And look at that. Winning switch is huge here because it will toe line there. But if you can win the shield scenario, that's a good time that you can just bait, because if it's a failed bait, you can go for it. And then if you hit the bait, going for the nuke the next time on a tankier Pokemon, they are less likely to shield. It's the same sort of scenario here. This was when I was against a Lickitung. I'm trying to find it here. So it was a Lickitung on the lead. Lickitungs are a little trickier because um I think overheat probably wouldn't take it out from this range. Like it takes it out. It like maybe no, it was just short after the second one. So it takes a lot of fire spins plus the overheat to get there. But what you're gonna see here is the same thing. Like when, and because I didn't shield there, that's an interesting thing there too. I did not shield on the first one, so they are potentially more likely to think that I'm just going to go for the bait and then bail with the shield up advantage, because then I can like get into something that having a shield advantage could be good in the mid game. So what's gonna happen here is they do end up, oh hi bud, wakey wakey, eh? What they do end up doing is shielding here, which is again not totally surprising, and then I can go for the nuke, and it is a Lickitung, so there is no way they're shielding a Lickitung twice, and they do not, and I blast it. It does come just short, so now I can just 1 HP short, so now, and we see MP, so now I'm going to be taken out there, but I'm up a shield, or I could have shielded and taken switch even shields. So it just depends what you want to do. So that's kind of when I bait. One other scenario which I don't have a video for is, let's say you are running a balanced team and they are running a balanced team. Okay, so they lead something into your Pokemon and you just like destroy it. Just think it's like they lead, I'm a champ and you're leading a Hypno. So they safe swap, let's say, into Sableye or something, some sort of safe swap. Not Vigoroth on Hypno, but like Sableye or something, right? You come in with, pick your Pokemon, Azu or something. Let's say Azu, because a Play Rough would, I don't know if it one-shots, but it comes pretty close to one-shotting. It is likely that if they are running a balanced team, they cannot in any way have that Hypno aligned to their Machamp. So they are more likely to fight harder to keep switch. So, and now in those scenarios, I would go up to the Play Rough and probably bait an Ice Beam, just because worst case scenario, I could probably just 2-shield Ice Beam all the way down, and I have alignment anyways. Best case scenario is they're trying to fight for switch because they know they have a terrible, terrible matchup that they're likely to shield, and you're likely to win that way. So let's go into 2 battles where I actually call some baits. So the first one here, I'm not going to waste too much time with this one because it's a fairly obvious one. Where are we here? We are here. So let's just fast forward in the matchup, because what you're going to see here is, let's fast forward a little bit more. I'm going to take out this Muck. Out's going to come a Pidgeot, and I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to stand because I don't want to get gusted down. So I immediately come in with Nidoqueen. See, it's a Pidgeot, come in with a Nidoqueen. And what you're going to see here is, one, I don't know why I don't throw the Poison Fang. Like, that was a mistake on my part. But what you're going to see here is, I get the okay, bud, okay. I get the Poison Fang off, and they're going to get to a move here. So they shield once. And now their defense is down because I Poison Fang them. So they have, so their defense is down already, 1. And their Muck is low. It also, so this one also comes down to the scenario. I just took out the Muck. I'm pretty sure I just took out the Muck. And their other Pokemon is low. So this is really their only Pokemon left. So they cannot Brave Bird me in the scenario. Their only win condition really is to Feather Dance, Gust Down, come out with energy. So in these scenarios, it's kind of an easy one. It's just like understanding like they can't waste this Pokemon because they only have like 1 in the back left. I throw the Poison Fang, get Hypno lined, able to Confusion down, and then take out the back Pokemon. So that one's sort of an easier one where it's just like, I find the Pidgeot one, most tend to bait, some don't, but most tend to bait. So I usually call the Feather Dance bait, but that one is very just scenario dependent. That scenario was, they only had 1 Pokemon left. They could take me out, but I was already low enough that their really only win condition was to Feather Dance and then Gust Down, so they have something in the back end for my other Pokemon. So that's just sort of scenario based. This one is almost, I don't want to call it more feel based. So I'm going to play through this whole matchup because what you're going to see here is, so I have a Hypno line. They're a little delayed there, so that's kind of good. So I'm going to do the same sort of scenario. Hypno's a little trickier, especially a Shadow, because they're going to get to the moves beforehand here. The first move. So I have to shield. No, I'm going to let this go. So most of the time I will shield because of that scenario where I'm put super low and now they come and catch on Raticate. I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw this here. They could think it's an overheat. They may not. So I'm going to throw the Weather Ball here. And I was like, okay, this is pretty thick. Let's get out of here into Nidoqueen. And so I'm like, okay, this is a decent matchup. Just going to Poison Fang this down. I'm probably going to have to take one Crunch. Do I shield it or do I not shield it? I do shield it because the Crunch is like, it's a pretty okay move, so it may hurt. So I'm like, can I just get down? And I'm like, I don't think I can. So let's just go for the Poison Fang here. Take this out. I'll have energy coming out for the Hypno that I can start throwing a couple moves at that. Anyways, what you're going to see on the back end here is that they are going to have an Amok on my Hypno. On my Hypno or my Snorlax? What do I have left here? On my Snorlax. That was my other team. On my Snorlax, which the Dark Pulses like hurt a lot. It's over 50%. And these guys are running Poison Jab. So this thing's loaded. I need to come and sacrifice here. Or I was going to come and just like, and now comes the, here we go. So the scenario here is, I'm going to get a Body Slam off. It only does about, I don't even know if it does 50%. Amok has a pretty solid matchup if you're running Snarl. So it does do about 50%. So one more is going to take it out. So I need to make a decision here to call this bait, or can I stop it? Yes, it sprays right there. Basically, a Dark Pulse would, a Dark Pulse would pretty much end this game. If they threw Dark Pulse, like if I was them in this scenario, I probably would not bait here. Because you just go for the Dark Pulse, I have a shield, force the shield, or if I don't shield, then you pretty much win the game because you can just Poison Jab me down after I do not shield here. But the reason I didn't shield was because I don't know, it's kind of on feel twice. And I know it's not a good way to explain this because you're like, how do I do it based on feel? But the scenario basically was they took one Body Slam already. They either made the decision that they cannot outpace me to the Body Slams. Like I'm going to get 3 Body Slams before they get 2 Dark Pulses off. Or maybe 3 Dark Pulses off because I have a shield. It's going to be close. But I think the decision was made that they don't think that they are going to get to the Dark Pulses before. So Acid Spray is kind of like their Weather Ball, right? You bait first to grab a shield and then nuke. And that was sort of their scenario. You bait here because even if they bait with an Acid Spray, it's still an okay matchup because they severely lower my defense, right? So that was kind of my thinking. I'm like, they're probably going to just bait me with an Acid Spray to take me out here, to like lower my defense, grab a shield so that this thing can run free. So they Acid Spray me. So I'm resetting because I have it. I already have a move stored, so perfect. So I'm going to throw it. I don't know why I went up because I'm going to get a shield anyways here because the other Pokemon is extremely low. They do end up shielding this. And now I'm in the same scenario here. I am in a one scenario. They're going to have a move to throw here. And again, this was a sort of feel, this is their only win condition. Well, this one's tricky because I do call the second Acid Spray bait here. Like a Dark Pulse takes me out and I lose. I have a shield. I find that more people, especially when you get higher up, will force you to make this bait call to win the game as opposed to shielding up a Dark Pulse or shielding up a Dark Pulse to win the game, right? Because I don't think they're going to make it to 2 moves here. So they can only make it to 1 move. So I think their thinking is they can go double Acid Spray and just poison me down. Or I think they have I don't know what they left, something in the back that could take me out after they lower my defense twice here. Or I call it and I win the game. And what just happened was I was just was like, I think that they're going to bait again because I think that they can just do poison jab, acid spray, poison me down, and then get the back one there. But then I realized that, and I think they realized that too, that I called it correctly to win that matchup. So this one was a little trickier to explain why I called it twice. It was a mixture of, and as a Hypno on the back, right? So their thought process was they're just going to double acid spray me low enough that even that if I didn't call, they can just come with the Hypno and get me down there if I didn't have enough energy, but I didn't have enough energy. So I think that was almost a mistake on their part to double bait me there. I just think that in those scenarios, if the opponent, I think the opponent thought he could get to another move, so I think it was a miscount on his part. But if you can, in certain scenarios, the opponent needs to throw that bait move to get to another move to win the game. I think they were just short on the count there before I got to the move. But yeah, it's kind of like the weather ball scenario, right? Like you're baiting, and it's the worst case scenario. They call, you can maybe get to the move, just win the shield scenario. But in that scenario, they cannot because I already had the move. So that was a little, I don't know if I'm explaining that well. Because in the moment, I knew what I was doing, but I don't know if I'm explaining that well. So anyways, those are scenarios when I bait and don't bait. In general, I try not to bait because in scenarios like that, where you try and bait, thinking I'm clever, I'm going to grab the last shield, and then they call you, you look like an idiot and you just lost the match, right? On the other hand, if they threw a Dark Pulse there, I would have lost and looked like an idiot. But in those scenarios, I would just say, in general, don't bait those scenarios. I know his thought process, because his process was this: I cannot get to two moves. Well, I could potentially get to two moves. I cannot get to the two moves. If I throw the Dark Pulse, this game is over. So I can only bait here and hope that I can poison jab or confusion down combo. But my thought process in that scenario would be, if I'm going to lose anyways, or I think it's going to be way too close anyways, let's just force their hand because maybe they're overthinking it. So that is my baiting video. Hope it's helpful. I don't know if that last one's really helpful. I think the other ones are helpful about when to call, when to not call, when to bait, when to not bait there. But yeah, the Great League, I'm filming this at like earlier in the day, so the Great League starts in about 3 hours. I'm going to try and run that Trevenant as you Metacham line to see if that one works. And if it does, I will showcase that tomorrow. If it doesn't work, I will try and find something new to showcase. Again, keep sending me your battle submissions if you have any. You want me to look at them in the lower ELO range. I think that would be fun for maybe the end of the week. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one, maybe or maybe not, with my 5-week-old who is out right now, but at times is very, very fussy. But look at that face. Look at that chunk. He's born 9 pounds 7 ounces, and he's already up to like 14, like 6, and he's like 99th percentile. So he's a big boy. But anyways, this is too much info. But like my daughter was the same thing. She was like 9'7", 99th percentile, and then like around like the 8 to 10 month mark, she just like dropped off, and now she's like 50, like average 50th percentile. So anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.